Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. I had a question lately about the influence of stars. Is it really true that the stars, and that was especially a question about the moon, does influence us? No, they don't. In ancient time, astrologers and astronomers, they were one and the same. And as it happened in so many different ways, they split. It's all about, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. So astrology at that time was something whole, because people at that time, the initiate who did this kind of work, they knew and they understood that astrology and everything in the cosmos is a word that comes from the Greek Latin that means order. There is an order in everything. And when we have an order in things, that means that everybody has its own rhythm. When you look out, everything that exists has a beginning, and then it has a phase when it's going up, 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 up till the peak, and then it declines, and then it's gone. So this is the same. Astrology is showing us the quality of time. And to make that even more clear is like, for example, we can also observe the quality of time in complete different ways. So we have that what we call the vertical picture of the world, and we say the mundane, the horizontal picture of the world. So when I talk to you and I talk about, say, I say dog and cat and elephant and fish, whatever, you immediately know that I'm talking about the kingdom of animals. There is also a kingdom of plants, a kingdom of stones, and there are different kingdoms. This is this level where we put things into a category to understand it better. So we can talk about when we want to, in a discussion, as I think about the kingdom of animals, and everybody know what we are talking about. But if I look at the vertical line, then people don't understand us anymore, because there are things, because the vertical line goes through all the different kingdoms. So we have the kingdom of plants, the kingdom of animals. Then we have also other levels, like we have profession, we have healing modalities, etc. And this all has an affinity in another level. So in astrology, we work with a vertical picture and not with the horizontal. And this is the very, very big difference that is, and this is why it is so difficult to understand, because people don't understand this kind of thinking anymore. And this is what happened when astrology and astronomy split. Astrology stayed with the vertical picture, and astronomy went into the kingdom picture, and they start to analyze the stones, they start to analyze other things, which the old wise people from ancient times, they would just look at what the hell are they worrying about, what the stone is. What we need to know is the quality of time. Let me, okay, I had to quickly stop because the sun is shining in from there very strong. I record the video in the afternoon. So we have switched our way of thinking in a complete different way, and everything what is taught to us is now on a horizontal level. I do this and then this happen, and I do this and then this happen, and we completely ignore the the vertical picture in the world. So we follow an increasingly strong intent to serve astrology in a way that is linear and not anymore connected with the vertical way. This is very difficult for me to explain, that I find the words that people really understand. So I have in my other computer here some notes so I can look into here. So you think about that when we look at astrology, and let me show you now, I start to share the screen and I show you the picture of first, very simple. I shared a picture about, this is Venus and this is the Earth. So we have two symbols. We have a circle, and the circle is spirit, and we have a cross, and the cross is what is manifested. So we have, when we look at Venus, we have spirit over matter, and when we have the circle of the Earth, we have matter over spirit. So in a way we can say it's also quite natural that matter takes over since we are in a physical body. But the whole esoteric approach is asking us actually to let go of the one-sided picture, and this is what esoteric, this is esoteric, the inside knowledge is meaning that we align ourselves to the higher realms. This is the same like when I talk about we are divine beings having a human experience. Once you are connected with the divine within, with this line that goes vertical, we can find also every answer to any problem that we need. We don't need to look on the linear level so much anymore. We have the insight on this level, and once that insight is here, we can go and look on this level how to materialize, how to do it. For example, any kind of inspiration, and then you need, for example, a recipe to do it. So we have the recipe, which is that level. We have the idea about something, which is that level. So I have also talked about that before. Here I share another picture. We have generally in astrology, we have only 3 different symbols that are put together in different ways. So we have the moon as a receiving part. We have the sun as our consciousness. The dot inside is the circle, but we have to expand it to be able to see it, and we have the cross. So Venus, as we said before, is the consciousness manifesting in divine creation. So this is the intuition. And then we have Mercury, which actually represents the human being and not the sun at all. The sun just represents the consciousness. And it's also the whole story about Prometheus that we can see in Mercury here. The 3 symbols is like that we can be as a human being is a receiving, and then we process, we have consciousness, it comes into, we receive something into our consciousness, and then we materialize it. So this can be the spoken word, the written word, it can be a painting, it can be anything that is materialized. That's how we function. And then we have a 3rd planet actually, which they call Pluto, which is not completely correct yet, which has exactly the same 3 symbols here. We have the circle, but now the circle is inside of the moon and the cross below. So this is more or less the higher octave of Mercury. We can say this is the goddess, the cosmic energies pregnant and about to manifest life. So also Pluto, or we can say the goddess, or whatever name you want to give it, which will be one day that comes out, is symbolizing creation as such. Now again, let's come back to what this is influence. No, it's not influence. This is embedded in an order, like we have our biorhythm in our body. These are, I think, 3 different rhythms that sometimes they are going together. Sometimes one rhythm is up, one rhythm is down, but the rhythms are always the same. The moment you're born, those rhythms, they start and they will die the moment, they will stop the moment you die. And this is exactly with astrology too. Each planet is representing a rhythm. So you heard, for example, the crazy 7th year or the difficult 7th year. This is because the 7th year that is connected with the Saturn is a confrontation with something that we've made in the past, like this 7 years ago, that we have to look at again, and that gives us an aspect of a challenge. So an aspect of a challenge is very often, for example, you can see that when you look a little bit around, the 7th year can be very difficult also in a marriage, or wherever you are, the 7th year is always difficult. But this has in fact nothing to do with Saturn. Saturn is just representing that rhythm that is confronting us with things like that. I want you to think about quality measurement. When we talk about the astrology, is about to measure the quality of the time. We have the watch that is going on this side around, and the watch is telling us the quantity of time. And astrology gives us the quality. So the two of them together are a whole. We have quality and quantity. And when we have quality, like for example, you go and you buy milk, and then you want to measure the quality, or you buy anything and you bring it in a lab, and you're going to measure the quality of the milk, and then it has so many percent of fat and water and minerals or whatever. This can be measured. But now, does the measurement instrument really influence the quality? It does not. And it's exactly with the stars the same. That is quality versus quantity. And the quality that we see in astrology was, and will always be the same, because these are different rhythms. Now, the question about do planet influences make a certain sense, because think about the sun. The sun represents our consciousness. Now the sun is mostly out there the whole day, and has really, in that way we can say, an influence because we have daylight. But this is the certain rhythm that gives us a certain amount of daylight where we are conscious. And then the sun goes down, and we have the nighttime. And the sun, when you look at it, the sun looks always more or less the same. The sun is always just shedding light. But then we come at night, and the moon is kind of fickle and do all kind of stuff, but it's not always the same. We have a dark moon where we don't see the moon a few days. Then we have a rising moon, we have a full moon, we have a descending moon. And this is also a representative of the emotional state of a person. So the moment you're born, this is exactly like the biorhythm that I mentioned before. The moment you're born, this rhythm starts to apply for you personally in your life. So even if you don't see that, you have a certain horoscope where you're born. And then the planets move on. And after a certain time, like you have a 30-degree aspect, and we have a 60-degree, then 90-degree, 120, and so on. And each time we have an aspect back to the planet, because the moment we are born, this then does not move anymore. This is the blueprint of our life. So that's same when you build a house, you have a blueprint first, and then you build the house. Now, the next question about that is about the free will. Do we have a free will? Yes and no. The moment that you are born, you have chosen to be here. That was your free will. Your soul has chosen to be here at this time for a certain lesson. But the time quality you cannot choose, because this will just start to move the moment you are born, like your biorhythm. And now this is interesting and important to understand, that even though the curriculum is given and everything is unfolding, it's like when you go to university or school, whatever, you get a curriculum. Like in the first year, you have this and this and this subjects, and this teacher, and so on. And then you go there, but it happened, for example, that there is one teacher you really don't like, or one subject you really don't like, you have a problem with. And that's exactly the same in our lives. We choose also topics that might not be so funny. And that has nothing to do with the topic itself. It has to do with my approach. I mean, if I mathematics, for example, there are people they like mathematics, right? And they go very easy, and others they have a lot of problems. And some people they have a lot of problems with language and have a hard time to learn, say, for example, a foreign language, and others just boom make it like that. And this is again, this is what qualities you take into this life that will make certain topics for you more easy and certain topics more difficult. And it's no way to run away. The topic will be in your life. So the way where you have the free will to choose is how you approach the topic. Like there are things in my life that I don't like and that I used to fight against or be angry about it, or do I have this person, like people in my life that I just see them, I get angry. Not so much anymore, but I had that very strong. But it doesn't matter. The people are there. They have the right to be themselves. And when I have a problem with another person, this is not the problem of the other person. This is a problem for me, because this person represents an aspect of life that I don't want to live, an aspect of life that I don't want to see and I don't want to be confronted with. But unfortunately, there is nothing in life we can run away because the curriculum is given. And this is why we have often, especially the older people look at Alzheimer, look at all these things, what are happening in the moment. Also, the longer you live, the more you try to avoid something, the more it starts to push back. So it will affect your health in many different ways. And the moment when you look at what kind of organs are connected with it, and I've been talking about the healing power of illness many times, and there are many videos out there if you go and have a look at the Pearls of Wisdom section about illness, that gives a more clear explanation of that the moment that you avoid the topic, that it comes somehow back in your body. Because first of all, when a topic comes into your life, it comes into your consciousness. Remember Mercury, we have on top the moon. This is the receiving. Then we have the sun. And the sun will give us the consciousness and will make us think about it. Something comes in our life and we choose immediately if we like it or if we dislike it. If we like it, we go closer, we look closer, you maybe read about it, you talk about it, and if you don't like it, you try to push it away. This is avoidance. And this is what I also say, that the real master, think about it. The real master is not the one that doesn't want anything anymore. The real master is the one that does not want to avoid anything anymore, because everything that is coming to you into your life that you're confronted with is something from your curriculum, knowingly or unknowingly, that doesn't matter. But you have chosen the time, the moment of entry when you were born at that time. You have chosen your circumstances. You have chosen, for example, to live here now in these very, very difficult times of shifting energies, because we knew that it will be worth it, because we're going to experience the shift that never has happened on this planet before. But as I mentioned also, there are many of us here who have already gone through shifts like that on other planets, in other systems. And we are here now to help, and we are here now to move through this again with as much grace as we can, and not to avoid things. So what I want to stress about this is the planets are not influencing us. But there is, like when the sun is shining or when the moon is at night, we have those moods that going up and down, which is our emotional body, the representative of our emotional body, but it is not the influence. It does not influence our emotional body. It's just showing the quality in the moment of our emotional body. So it is, let me show you. I have actually prepared another working table here. And I hope you can see that, because this is now what I do for the horizontal versus the vertical thinking. Now we have here, say, for example, that's a page from my book. I have here that the simplest Aries is Mars is connected in a horoscope with the first house and field. And we have here the principles, the positive and the negative. So Aries is like, when we look at the principles, powerful, strong willpower, ability to assert oneself, fighting power, enthusiastic, open towards new things, adventurous, the pioneer, fearless and courageous. And in the negative principles, we have impatient, violent temper, uncontrolled, or over-enthusiastic, one-sided, cruel, heartless, callous, inconsiderate, stubborn, uncontrolled. Now, this is the first sign in the cycle. This is just the beginning. This is like, you know, when you have whatever plant that comes through the soil, or you can see that one little plant, when there is a little crack in a concrete, can come through and even expand the concrete. So how powerful this is. So these are the principles that are connected with Aries. So we have the positive and negative polarity archetypes. Is the guardian of the sacred flame, the torchbearer, the soldier or the killer. The soldier in a positive, say, also the warrior or a killer without conscience. But this is not like a killer that plans ahead a long time, because when it's a spontaneous beginning of something, it is just the moment something happened that bang, it happens, not with a lot of thought or purpose behind it. So when we look now at the disposition of illness, we have also certain ways, certain things that are connected with this archetype. That is headaches, because it's connected very often. Also, the Aries is the head, face, neuralgia, eye and tooth problems, accidents, gallbladder weakness, pains in muscles. Then I told you we can find now a vertical line. So we can find here from profession. What is the profession? What colors are connected with Aries? What materials? What stones? What plants? What flowers? And we have here also, this is now, see, we have the kingdom of materials, of stones. We have the kingdom of plants. We have another subdivision of healing plants. Then we have the kingdom of fruit and the kingdom of animals. The kingdom of, no, body shape, we cannot say it's a kingdom, but the different body shapes also are usually, like Venus is in Aries. Then you see the body shape of this special sign that we have. So it is not that simple that everything is just straight, but when you look at an astrology chart, you have many different things connected. They are interconnected, or we have the different signs and the different planets mixed up. So the challenge for a good astrologer is to bring all these things together that it makes sense. And I think that's really what takes a long time to learn and to really understand. And unfortunately, most astrologers, they are working with the influence and don't understand what astrology is really. And this is, again, you know, we talked about that everything what we learned up to now were lies. And this is also why Western astrology and this astrology with the real star constellations is different, because when you look at the Western astrology that is not really showing the rhythm in the sky, they give us another rhythm, a false rhythm, a false curriculum in a way, we can say, that you don't see why you're really here. And again, that goes in the whole topic of deception, right? So if we look at the astrology from this point of view, you also can see that, like, for example, astrologers who do this kind of work and not just say this is good and this is bad, or like a judgment, but really analyze one's life, is not just somebody to say, yeah, it's everything okay and you're fine and it's going to be good in your life. Let me give an example. That was a Vedic astrologer, and you know, it's very often that people they go and ask for, like, for example, a wedding date, and the wedding date of a lady who she came, and the astrologer said, yeah, it will be okay, and blah blah blah. And then they got married, and about whatever, half a year later, they found out that he was cheating on her, whatever it was, I don't remember. And the woman got furious. That was the mother of the bride. And she went back to the guy and said, why the hell did you blah, blah, blah? And I said, well, that's what you wanted to hear. If I would have told you that things are not going right, you wouldn't have listened. And that's exactly the point, you know. And I see that in my work so many times, that people, they just ignore things they don't want to hear or they don't want to see. And there's nothing you can do about it. They are not ready yet. So it's very important that you understand the quality of time so that you can maybe step back. What I did once is a similar topic. I had people that I saw because the mother catch them in bed, and it was here in Thailand, and then she said, okay, you're gonna get married, and the mother actually also came to me and she asked me what is the best date for wedding. Sorry, it's really hot. I'm sweating. And so I was looking, they wanted to have a wedding date in November. And in addition, that in November we had a retrograde Mercury, which is really bad for a wedding. I told her, explain her, and then she said, oh yeah, that's right. I had actually afterwards two here too, and I was talking to them, and I asked them, do you really want to get married? And they kind of, you know, they couldn't say no, but I felt that the energy is not. So anyway, I was looking at certain components in the horoscope, and I told the mother to plan the wedding next year in March or April. And they didn't get married. So I could help to avoid that disaster. It's not really avoided, but I could keep them free, that they don't have to go through that confrontation when they are married. Because see, the breakup would have happened anyway, but it was easier to have to break up when they were not married, when they were just engaged. That was still okay. So you can see that this kind of astrology can help really a lot to make people have easier to understand what's going on in their life. When we look at the Western astrology, that is fixed on the point of the spring equinox. I mentioned that before. It does make certain sense in the northern hemisphere, where there is connected to the seasons, because the influence of the sun and everything is stronger. But it doesn't make any sense at the northern, when you look from the northern hemisphere where it's summer, and in the southern hemisphere at the same time it's winter. So it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, you know, this is how things still are, and I think they will soon change in many different ways when the truth is coming out. And I hope here too that people are more clear about what astrology really is. And astrology was always connected to the quality of time, to the path of initiation. In a way, we can say in Europe, it was one of the pillars of the four pillars of the esoteric teaching. And I was lucky enough to have a teacher back in the 80s that really understood what astrology is and really knew the difference between esoteric and exoteric teaching. Well, I hope that helps a little bit to understand for the future when you look into astrology, when you look at what it is, and I will post in my blog this analogy list that I have, that I showed you for a moment. And maybe I gonna put a little bit text. One of the best books I can recommend that is not available anymore, it's out of print, but I found it on a page and I could download as a PDF. This is from Detlef Snow. So this, I told you, that is that was my teacher at that time, and it was always just available in German. Now it's called Challenge of Faith, but I have now downloaded it, and I will find the URL. Probably I can find it, or if you want it, I can also send it to you as a PDF, and you can print it out and can read it. That is the whole topic of psychological esoteric, or esoteric psychology, whatever you want to call it, to really understand the true meaning of life. And that is still one of my Bibles that I have since, yeah, I was about 32, 33 when I got that book. So it's about 40 years ago. And I had many books in the meantime, and I read many books, but not many are still here with me that I still have and still read in them. Okay, my dear, thank you for listening. And I hope that this answers many questions. And if there are more, please ask. I'm more than happy to give you more information, but I don't know what your questions are, so I cannot answer. Okay, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will have my dark moon reading ready very soon for next week. Now, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.